Developing today, growing tensions between King Charles and Prince William have been reported over Prince Andrew, with consternation over the fact that the monarch will not remove certain privileges from his brother, including, according to Tom Sykes of The Royalist, his shooting weekends. Now, Andrew has been losing huge amounts of allies over the past fortnight because of two damning moments. The first, the leak of this email that he sent to Jeffrey Epstein after the publication of the picture featuring Virginia Giuffre and Ghislaine Maxwell, where he said, as you can see there, it would seem we are in this together. Let's keep in touch. We'll play some more soon. An email, not just mortifying in its language, but also something that blows up Andrew's long-held alibi that he put forward in, for example, the interview with Emily Maitlis. And now more recently, the Virginia Giuffre autobiography, released from Beyond the Grave months after her suicide, where she goes into the most detail yet about her intimate or allegedly intimate moments with Prince Andrew. Now, you know, I've always been pretty moderate on this issue. I don't trust and never trusted everything that Virginia Giuffre said. And I think in a lot of ways, Prince Andrew has been made a scapegoat here. And he has been made a scapegoat for the Americans, like Bill Clinton and Bill Gates, who had these very close relationships with Jeffrey Epstein, but it was much easier to go for the British royal. However, it is impossible to avoid this growing reality that the latest revelations are indeed concerning, suggests that both Andrew and Fergie have been lying through their teeth, and that Prince William's idea of exile, not just for Prince Harry, because he wants that too, but for Prince Andrew may be more sensible. And as you know, I was very taken with Lady Colin Campbell seemingly withdrawing support for Prince Andrew after the more recent revelations. Lady Colin Campbell joins me now. Lady C, do these revelations, both in terms of Virginia's autobiography, but perhaps most damningly this email, mean that now William is right and that exile is becoming the only option for Andrew?
Well, Dan, I have to say, first of all, if I had known that Prince Andrew was lying when he said that he had not severed relations with Jeffrey Epstein, I would not have defended him, because I defended him on the basis that I thought he was speaking the truth, which I did. Now, as you might know, I have close friends who are very involved and close to Andrew and Sarah. So I know a lot more, and I'm sure you do as well, than the general public knows. And I well understand why Andrew has not wanted to come clean about certain aspects of his private life. But it doesn't alter the fact that he has handled the whole thing extremely badly, and he shouldn't have lied. He should have simply said, I did not sleep with Virginia Giuffre for XYZ reasons. Well, I get why he didn't say that, but then he could have also said, she also was, by her own account, was paid $15,000 for claiming that she had slept with me, even though I have always asserted I never slept with her.
Lady Colin Campbell, a well-known royal insider and defender of Prince Andrew, is now urging him to come clean about what really happened the night he allegedly met Virginia Giuffre. Even she, one of his strongest allies, says it's time for Andrew to admit the truth, whatever it is. And that tells you just how bad things have gotten. Ladies,
and this shows, A, no crime can have been committed as she was over the age of consent. B, there is nothing that unusual of a 17-year-old prostitute sleeping with a 40-year-old man, especially one who is one of the most desirable bachelors on earth, and who, according to her, she led him to believe she fancied him. He could have simply said, even if I was supposed to have slept with her, I committed no crime, and there's no big deal about it. She was, by her own account, a 17-year-old prostitute, and that's all there is. He should have and could have and really should have done it, because, you know, Virginia Giuffre's book is very redolent of a 1940s movie called Leave Her to Heaven, which starred Gene Tierney and Cornel Wilde, about a girl who was so determined to have her own way that she was prepared to commit suicide to prove her point. And I think Virginia Giuffre had absolutely no wriggle room left. She had destroyed her family and her relationship with her family, her marital family, her husband, her children. She had played being a victim once too often and once too richly. Virginia Giuffre earned a lot of money making claims, and there has been an awful lot of court proceedings, which I have seen sight of, that confirm that Virginia Giuffre is a totally unreliable witness. And I don't care that she's written this book and she's dead. I'm sorry, to me, it's a little bit too much like Gene Tierney's character in Leave Her to Heaven. And I thought she was a liar when she was alive, and I think she's a liar now. I also think, unfortunately, that Andrew and Sarah have both shown themselves to be liars. And I don't really regret having done what I did, because I did what I did. I was actually told by Piers Morgan's people that they couldn't get anybody else to defend Andrew, and to say that they believed Andrew's version of the Emily Maitlis interview. And I did. I thought he was perfectly credible. Maybe I was being naive, and I don't mind being duped by people. As I said to one of my sisters, she said repeatedly over the years, your name should be Patsy. I've said to her, well, I don't mind being a Patsy, because I would sooner give people a chance and be proven wrong than be like you, who never gives anybody a chance. And often you are proven wrong in a less humane way. So I don't actually, from that point of view, regret it. But I certainly have to tell you, had I known that Andrew was lying through his back teeth, and that Sarah was as well, I would have absolutely not got involved. And my recommendation to them now would be either come clean or disappear. I do not think, having said all of that it is the place of the press to set themselves up as judge and jury, and to demand that, and to deprive people who have actually committed no crime, say, against good taste and good judgment, that they be deprived of their right of association with their family privately. I think it is an abuse of press power to try to interfere to that extent in the private and family life of any individual, especially one who has not committed a crime. We are supposed to live in a compassionate world, and certainly before you had all of this woke pseudo compassion, the Christian attitude was hate the sin, love the sinner, with the result that even people who committed terrible crimes at the point of execution, their family would still be there supporting them, not having supported the crime, but having executed their spiritual duty to their son, daughter, sibling, whatever.
Gotten. Lady C
And
says the prince's silence and denial have done more damage than the truth ever could. In her words, he's not helping himself by pretending nothing happened. She's calling for transparency, to finally reveal what went down that night with Virginia Giuffre. Because let's face it, the mystery and denial have destroyed his reputation, and now it's dragging the entire royal family through the mud. Every time.
And I think there are spiritual aspects to this that have been totally ignored. And I think the press is being extremely abusive. And it's none of their business whether Andrew is allowed to shoot. It's an impertinence, as far as I can see, aside from being an abuse, that the press would say, well, because Andrew has lied, and I've got news for you. Most people caught in a very awkward situation, as he was, and indeed Sarah was as well, most people would lie. I mean, have they said that Hugh Edwards should be stripped of his pension? Have they said that Philip Schofield should have been stripped of his pension? Have they said that Rachel Reeves, or whoever the hell, it's not Rachel, is it Rachel? No.
Angela Rayner.
Angela Rayner should, are they saying that these people should not have any support from any member of their family? No, they're not. I think they are. I think the press itself is being abusive and overreaching. And I think there are moral and ethical issues at stake here, as well as civil rights issues that are being totally ignored. And that's my take on it. So I don't know.
Well, I've got a couple of things to pick up on. I mean, the argument from people close to King Charles is that if you take away Prince Andrew's shooting privileges, which I think he has at Sandringham, not even at Balmoral and Windsor. Yeah, if you take them away, right, what does this man actually have to live for whatsoever? And the thing about Andrew is that compared to Harry and Meghan, which are viewed as a bigger problem, by the way, at Buckingham Palace, and people might not like that, and I know Tom Sykes doesn't like that, but that is the reality, because Andrew has withdrawn from public life. He has. He went to a private funeral, and I know the choreography was very unfortunate, and it was unfortunate for William, and it was terrible that Andrew was such a buffoon that he cracked that joke. I mean, it was so bad. But he has fundamentally withdrawn from public life. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. Second thing I wanted to say about the Virginia Giuffre issue is that I don't regret my position at all on this, because Virginia Giuffre, and of course I have sympathy for what she went through in her life, especially her early life, but she was a proven liar, Lady C, on multiple occasions. And it is just worth spelling out some of those. So, for example, she initially claimed, Lady C, that she was 15 when she was approached by Ghislaine Maxwell at Mar-a-Lago. Now, that is a critical point, right? But actually, the employment records from Mar-a-Lago actually confirmed that she was 17. So 15 and 17, given the context of this case, that makes a real big difference. The Alan Dershowitz case is incredibly important. This is a very famous law professor, and she claimed that she had been trafficked to Dershowitz by Epstein in a 2014 court filing. She had to drop that lawsuit, admitting that it was a confusion with another individual, given that Dershowitz had countersued her for defamation, and she had to publicly admit regret for that error. She is also said to have fabricated one of the meetings with Prince Andrew. This was in 2014 at a ranch in Santa Fe, and she did acknowledge committing perjury in that specific filing, although she maintained the core abuse allegations were true. And then, of course, Lady C, just before her death, she had posted on social media claiming that she had been in this very serious collision with a bus and indeed was days from death. And again, that proved not to be true. So even though this book is very slick, don't get me wrong, Lady C, it is a very, if everything in this book were true, it's utterly damning for Prince Andrew. But unfortunately, I just don't think it is. What it is it's a very slickly produced book, which is beautifully written by professionals who know that they need to make this woman look as credible as possible, because, of course, it was intended to be released when she was alive. And just the final point I would make, Lady C, is, of course, Andrew did want to defend himself in court, but the entire royal establishment came down on him like a ton of bricks and said, this will destroy your mother's platinum jubilee. You cannot do this. You have to settle. And so he was damned in one way, damned in the other way, because then he never defended himself in court in order to preserve his mother's jubilee. But now people say, well, you paid her off. Well, yes, he did. He did pay her off using the Queen's mother, but he didn't admit to doing anything wrong.
Every time Prince Andrew's name resurfaces, it's a nightmare for the monarchy. King Charles wants a clean slate. He's focused on duty, legacy, and stability, but Andrew's scandal keeps pulling the royal image back into the gutter. And now, even close family friends like Lady C are distancing themselves unless Andrew faces the music. The Epstein connection is toxic. Andrew insists he did nothing wrong, but the settlement with Giuffre speaks volumes.
And not the 12 million that he's alleged to have paid her off either.
No, and there was no admission of guilt on his part. So it's difficult, isn't it?
And also, Dan, when you brought up Dershowitz, originally, and this is all there in black and white, incidentally, when Sharon Churchill, I think it is, who said to her something about Alan Dershowitz, she said, who's Alan Dershowitz? And Sharon Churchill, I think it was, who said something along the lines of, oh, he's some sleazebag. She said, oh, I didn't know him or never met him. And she said, oh, I think you did. You need to remember that you met him, or words to that effect. That's all there in papers as well. So the whole thing stinks to high heaven. And I really think on the human rights terms that this should be put to bed. Also, where the press has been extremely irresponsible is in labeling Jeffrey Epstein a pedophile. So that evokes images of children. And Virginia Giuffre was also desperate to try to present herself as an underage minor, which she never was before. She wasn't before she met Epstein, and she received, according to even one of her boyfriends, she received thousands of dollars from Epstein constantly. And I think if you consider all of that, the press is very irresponsible saying that Epstein was a pedophile. He was not. If you died of a brain tumor, I cannot with truth say that you died of leukemia. You didn't. They may both be cancers, but you died of a brain tumor. They are doing the same thing in terms of pedophilia and ephebophilia. These are both medical terms. Pedophilia is a medical term. Ephebophilia is a medical term. Pedophilia means congress and interference with a pre-pubescent minor. Ephebophilia is post-pubescent. There is no doubt that Virginia Giuffre was post-pubescent. And also in the in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, she was not called as a witness because she was so incredible as a witness that she could not be believed. But also, who was called was, I think her name was Caroline Lorena or something like that, or Lorena something. I can't really remember her exact name. She's dead now, but her evidence was that she was sourced by Virginia and she was a very buxom of Italian heritage girl who looked much older than she was. And when Virginia found out she was 14 years old, she said to her, whatever you do, don't tell them you're underage. You have to be over the age of consent. That is evidence in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. So why is Virginia Giuffre being believed? And why is her lies against Prince Andrew and other people being believed? I mean, this is a woman who I feel very sorry for her. I think that she was a very troubled person. But it has to be said that she nearly broke up her parents' marriage when she was prepubescent and made the first accusation against somebody. And one parent believed it and the other didn't. And it nearly broke up her parents' marriage. And you will also notice that Virginia Giuffre's parents, only one of them has ever come out wading in favor of her. Her father, who is the one who used to take her to the airport for her to get on planes to join Jeffrey Epstein so that she would be what she now wants us to believe was trafficked.
Oh, yeah. And I mean,
she wasn't trafficked. She chose, the woman was a prostitute. And you know, there's, so far as I'm concerned, it's a perfectly honorable profession as long as you are giving a service. And it's the second oldest profession in the world. It's very, as far as I'm concerned, it has honor as long as you don't do what Virginia Giuffre did, which was then spin around and use it to victimize people who were not your victims. I'm sorry. I think the whole thing stinks to high heaven. And I think practically nobody comes out of this with any credit whatsoever.
No, it is awful. And she does admit in her book that she went and she engaged in this sexual activity with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Her claim is that it was because she was abused as a child, and so that's why she did it.
Lady Colin says the only way out is through, that Andrew must be brave enough to confess and stop hiding behind PR statements. Because whether he's guilty or not, the public's lost trust. And silence looks like guilt. This is the royal reckoning Prince Andrew has avoided for years. Lady Colin's message is crystal clear. Stop running, stop lying, and tell the truth. Because redemption starts with honesty. And right now, honesty is the one thing the Duke of York has been avoiding.